Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so it's like 3 in the morning. I felt like doing a therapy session, but I look at my phone and it only has 30 minutes to talk. I'm trying to clear up space and I have no idea how to do so. I've done everything I could think of and nothing's clearing up space. I must have got a hold of a bug that duplicates itself in my phone. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Trying to clear cache, I have no idea where it's at. So that's frustrating. But yeah, so I only got 30 minutes for a therapy session. It is what it is. But what is on my mind? That Jamie Foxx situation where he had to apologize to Jewish people for saying they killed Jesus. What do you think they'd do to you? It's one of those situations where, that's a saying that my mom used to say a lot too, but we weren't referring to Jewish people as they when that phrase was uttered. We were referring to human beings in general. The humanity betrayed the Savior, so obviously there's nothing that one who isn't the Savior is exempt from experiencing. That's the wisdom behind this statement, I believe. When it was used around me, that was the wisdom. Now, if there were some people who understood an unspoken conversation between Jamie Foxx and themselves, if there's some specifics, and Jamie's specifically referring to some Jewish people who turned their back on him, and we, the public, aren't privy to that, then that would explain a lot. Because I don't know who Jamie's referring to, but those who Jamie's referring to know who Jamie's referring to, and if they happen to be Jewish, then that makes a lot more sense. You understand what I'm saying? That's what came to mind for me also. It's like, yo, it's almost like the Kanye versus Jewish people thing. It's like those who he offended know a lot more than the public is privy to. But fact of the matter is, we know, and we've talked about this on this channel, when they get offended, publications are utilized to embarrass whoever the offender is. We've seen this with Kanye, we've seen this with Kyrie, we've seen this more than once over the last 2 years. They just been making it a point to enforce respect for their people as it pertains to us specifically. And look, it's sensitive right now. They don't like the black community right now. Let's just call it like it is. And look, you can get mad at me for saying that, but isn't it obvious? Anytime we say anything, and I mean anything, we have to be publicly flogged for it. It's public. It has to be public. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with things that is widely understood. It's more so them trying to teach us what they respect, train us to respect them, and use our employment concerns, in Jamie's case, to enforce that. We've talked many times about how they want to hold us accountable for things that they know we don't know, or they believe that we believe, for which they say isn't true. That there has been some ambiguity about whether or not it's their history. And this is a conversation they hate for us to have, but these are also questions that have not been answered, that have some ambiguity to them. Where do you come from? Who is it? Who is it that gave you the right to use publications to hold us accountable for things that you know may be question marks in our mind, instead of answering those questions? And these are the things, it's like, okay, do you not acknowledge that there is some questions to be asked? Because any other time there's a mystery in place, we love to ask questions about what the hell's going on. But when it comes to them, we just have to be held accountable for things that they say isn't true, that the books say may be true. Why is that? Why is that? If you're going to keep holding people accountable, black people accountable for knowing your history, you had better be ready to have conversations about that history. I am not afraid to lose what you have to give, because what you have to give has to be attached to me believing things that I'm not being taught, but not for when I make the mistake of accidentally betraying what it is that you haven't taught, then I get reprimanded for not understanding it. That, my friends, is not how adults treat adults. And last I checked, just because I was a black person, it did not make me a child. The industry is owned by Jews. Because if it were not, Jamie would not have to apologize for something like this. Now, anybody that wants to be offended by that will have to have a conversation with me about why I shouldn't believe that, instead of telling me I'm wrong and I'm going to lose my job for believing something that I should not believe because it's a trope or whatever the hell a trope is. If I'm to listen to the word trope, by every chance I've seen it used, every time I've seen the word trough used, it usually has the word anti-Semitic attached to it before that. If I didn't know any better, I would say truth or troughs, or however the hell you say that word, would be something that Jewish people say is true, that black people may not know at all, that black people had bet not get wrong. That's what a trough means. Is that not what a trough means? Because that's the only time I've ever seen it used. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, people need to stop revealing themselves to be as wicked as they are. Whoever you are, stop showing yourself to be as wicked as you are. Because when you don't want to have conversations about why certain things are, but then want to get on someone's case about why they shouldn't be, do you know who acts that way? You know who acts that way? Satan acts that way. Satan acts that way. My mother said something else about Satan. Something that I grew up believing was true. That Satan always wants to act as if he does not exist, while simultaneously doing things that affect the real world. It's how he operates. And he wants to hold you accountable for rupturing his ego, even though he isn't actually there. It's how that spirit works. I'm not looking in any book for that. I listened to my mother for that. Just like my mother told me they killed Jesus, what you think they'll do to you? Helping me understand that they will betray me, whoever they are. My own people, your people, Jewish people, anybody. People will betray you because humanity, my mother said, killed Jesus. And humanity has a lot of different races attached to it. Black races, white races. And I'm not saying the word races, I'm talking about races, like many of them. We all encompass the humanity that is. We, humanity, together, have done things that we should not have done. There are histories that we haven't told one another. And maybe want to know that history. Maybe we want to hold others accountable for that history. Maybe we want to teach others, maybe even train others to respect us. But when it comes down to it, once it becomes a Jewish situation, it's no longer we. You notice how that works? It starts to separate once it starts talking about them. Because the respect that they demand of us is not the same respect that we demand of ourselves and that others demand of us and all of that. None of that is consistent. They don't like when you bring up something that may have been true that happened 6,000 years ago. That's something that would dare affect how they are respected and the image that they will allow themselves to be seen in. That's what they respect. That's what it is that they'll draw the line in regards to their image being disrespected. Ain't no way you gonna bring up something that happened 7,000 years ago and say that they had something to do with it, even though the historical book literally says something of that nature. Absolutely not. That's a trough. Now, whatever it is that happens to offend you, that offends your group, is culture. It's not a trough. It's a fact. It's culture. This is what you are. This is who you are. We invest in that. We will be there for you so long as you respect us differently than you respect yourself. So I tell people, stop showing me who you are, man. We're going to have conversations you don't want to have. Because I saw with my own eyes enough during the Kyrie Irving, Kanye West era, the whole thing, to have real conversations about questions that are, not quite answered. Things that were revealed during that era that we never revisited. That if I had a job where they can make me apologize, we would have to apologize every 3 minutes for the type of conversations that actually are worthy of being had now that that era has passed. I've tried to spare people because I don't quite know all there is to know, and I don't want to offend people that I really don't intend to offend. But that's the point. The line that crosses them, that offends them, is very easy to cross because the conversations that allow you to know what you need to know are not forbidden. They are forbidden. You are not allowed to have those conversations. You are just understood that if you happen to stumble upon what it is that you should not do, you best believe you're going to be reprimanded, or somebody you respect in the music business or the entertainment business, if they happen to cross one of them lines, you will learn then what lines you will not cross with them. You will not question our troughs. You will not question those. You will understand what we respect, regardless if it's true or not. You will respect it because we will force you to. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you right now, we start remembering what type of world we actually live in when we start seeing how people behave when they really have control but don't want to act like they have control but really do. It's always what I say. It's like, do you have the stomach to enforce your power when you really need to? A lot of people who I believe have power to do horrible things don't actually have the stomach to do those horrible things. They don't want to see it. You know what I mean? It's like the old story with the old mobster who didn't ever want to be around anything but definitely wanted to call the shots. That's what that reminds me of. You don't have the stomach to be God. You just want to act like him. See what I'm saying? Y'all don't want to do your own dirty work. You just want others to do it for you, while you be responsible for everybody. But when it's time to have them real conversations, you don't want to have them. You want to hide. You want to hide. You want to hold people accountable from behind the curtain. You want to tell everybody they need to respect you from behind the curtain, but you don't want to step up and have them hard conversations that may prove some of these truths aren't true. See, that's what a grown-up does. If you were to find out that everything about my history was a lie, you know the first thing I would do? Want all of that proven so that I can start the process of being respected in ways that I actually should. It would be the first thing I do. So you trying to tell me my people ain't actually my people, and they was really something they weren't supposed to be, and they really lied about it way back then, and they lied to me too, and now everything I have is built on a lie? Well, all the power that I have is not going to be transferred to anybody else, because that power is not easily transferable. Even if I were to decide it isn't mine to give, isn't mine to receive, I'm still going to hold on to it. That's how that goes. So that would be something that the God above us has bestowed upon you. And upon awakening to find that you have that power, the last thing you should do is continue on the foundation of lies. It's the wrong way to heal that. It's the wrong way to yield the power. To wield the power is the wrong way. It's hard to maintain your respect historically if what it is that you're built on is about covering up possible lies that you're afraid to expose. See, if you are as powerful and almighty and as of God as you say you are, there should be no reason not to disprove lies.
If it turns out the people who don't have the power ultimately are the ones who should have the power, that should be nothing for you to bestow that knowledge upon those people, because you shouldn't be afraid with the power you have that you will lose it even though you're not deserving. Because you know power is not easily transferable in that situation. And if you believed in God, then you know you have it for a reason. Regardless if you do it or not. That's what faith is about, which is why I'm not afraid to have this conversation, because the God that they say they're about is the God I actually serve. So what we're talking about here is not something that I'm afraid to talk about. See, that's the problem. When we adhere to a human God, we think we can't have real conversations that have to include the actual God. But see, I talked to him before I turned on his camera, which is why it's okay for me to say these things I believe. I believe. Whether I'm right or wrong. Because I know as an adult, when I come back around, if it's time for me to have a conversation to make it right, I will speak as loudly as I am right now in exposing what it is that I've learned, for which that information then can be transferred to others, and then we can comfortably receive that information without worrying about losing our jobs, or somebody slipping us a Mickey and happen to fall into some type of coma again. Jamie Foxx, whatever the hell happened to that brother, I'm pretty sure he's concerned, apologizing, not necessarily because of just his job and what he wants to do professionally, but because he almost lost his life. He probably doesn't really know how the hell it happened. And he's telling us they killed Jesus. What you think they'll do to you? Again, is he talking about somebody specific? And what is he referring to? You don't want minds like mine asking questions like this while you're trying to reprimand my people by way of one of the people that we love very much, because you propped him on a pedestal for us to love very much all these damn years, paying him all that money, investing in him. He's Jamie Foxx. And if he wants to remain Jamie Foxx, he better stay on the right side of your troughs. And I'm telling you right now, until we prove those troughs are true, people like me ain't gonna respect that. We will respect you as human beings and as adults, but as much as to say, let's have a conversation and sit down. Not as you gonna reprimand me for not knowing the truth about stuff that people been lying about for a very long time. If you ain't ready to have those conversations, then you are not the right type of human being. And when I say type, I mean respectfully. You don't have that to be holding me accountable if you're not willing to sit down and take the fire for what could be lies attached to your entire situation there. I am. We can sit down and talk about all our history, especially the stuff you don't want to talk about. We can break down all of it. But if you don't want to dig in them history books and have them real conversations on these platforms that we're really going to be on, don't expect us to know your history, and don't expect us to believe the things that may be troughs. We know the word troughs isn't something we even use in regards to anyone else. This has to stop, man. This has to stop. This is bullying. That's all it is. It's bullying. You got power. You're bigger than us, so you're pushing us around because you know we need to adhere to that power. But you don't want to have conversations. Conversations that will educate people so that they won't want to cross lines that are there. We won't even know those lines are there until you have those conversations with them. You don't want to have those conversations because you want to keep those troughs in those books hidden so people will never find out that them lies are actually that. I'm telling y'all, I watched the movie Hebrews to Negroes with this brain. I saw all I needed to see to know that there's some things that people don't want to talk about. I don't give a damn who they reprimand that's afraid of losing their fame. Some of that stuff they ain't need to discuss. And let me tell you something. BDF 44 has been praying about this every day ever since. I saw Hebrews to Negroes. There's been a statement put into the air for this conversation. It's called, and I say it like this, bring light to the conversation at hand. Those are the only words I say. Because God knows what I'm talking about. Ain't no troughs in between myself and the Lord. Ain't no troughs between his people and himself. There's no ambiguity. There's no conversations we afraid to have. It ain't no, he gonna reprimand me for knowing stuff that he didn't teach me. It ain't never gonna be none of that. Talk directly to him. He compels directly to me. In the limited time I have to live. Exactly what he wants me to think. These days anyway. And I follow that. And the one thing that he put in my heart this morning is to tell all of y'all that them troughs, if people are not willing to have conversations about what's behind those troughs, then you can't reprimand people for mistaking whatever it is that you're afraid to have conversations about. And if there's some lies in that damn book, then we should be talking about those. If there's some lies in your damn tongue, we should be talking about how you are going against what is said in that book. Whatever the case may be, we know people put things in things they have no business doing. And far be it for me to know the truth about the history of the Bible, but there are things in there that could be troughs. There could be some things in there that were put in there by people who didn't love, or whatever. But the point is, until we're ready to break down what's in them damn books for everybody to know, the books that you have, the books that they have, find out who everybody is, and really get to the nitty-gritty of why certain languages happen to be similar to others when these people have never been near each other, but for in a time that's well before the biblical days. If you can't help me understand what the hell I saw in that book, and you ain't ready to address what I saw in that movie, Hebrews to Negroes, do not reprimand black people for understanding what you have not discussed. And if you want to do that, all you're going to show me is that you're devilish and that you're afraid to use the power, to have the stomach to use the power properly that you wield, that God has bestowed upon you. You're afraid to admit you have it, but you're not afraid to deviously use it to destroy black people. It's going to be some people who want to destroy me for saying that. But if you look at what's being invested in, you look who's investing in what, damn it, it's all there. It's all there. And the point is this is the same conversation I've had many times. And I only got 8 minutes to speak, which is unfortunate. But this is the same conversation I have every time. And I've said it already in this camera right here. If there's a conversation to have about my past or my people's past or anything like that, we can get down to the nitty-gritty. I'm not ashamed of our history. I'm not ashamed of what it is I don't understand about our history. I'm not ashamed of the truths that may not be fit for my narrative. I may not find what I'm looking for, and I might find myself having to eat crow about everything I've ever thought. But that conversation is worth having for my children, for my kids, whoever they're going to have to be, whether it be if they find out that the people that they thought they were isn't who they were, or if it turns out they're exactly who it is that we've always believed ourselves to be. The point is, our kids deserve to not only know who they are and know who's around them, but to have a clean slate about themselves regardless of what they find. Meaning, if we find out we're the worst people ever, the generation under us has the right to know that, and then to be able to establish themselves as the first generation not like that. They have a right. And they deserve to be safe without having the elephants in the room between them and those who are above them, who want to quote unquote protect them, but yet want to put them opposite of people they do not know by way of these conversations. Jewish person has to answer certain questions if they live in a black neighborhood. Now that stuff like this is going on because black people going to want to know what the hell's going on, and they're going to have to be the ones answering those questions, and it's not right. How safe is the environment for the young Jewish boy and the young Jewish girl in these environments when this type of stuff is what their people doing to them? This is what I always say. It's the same thing I say about white supremacy. How does it reflect upon white people who don't have nothing to do with that, who don't want to have anything to do with that, but have to suffer the brunt of being the faces of it in the presence of people who aren't going to know the difference? What environment are you creating for them? You can never answer that question while they out here reprimanding everybody for disrespect for them. What type of environments are they creating for their own children in the environments these children may be in? You think you're making it safer for them? You think you're making it easier for them? Do you think it's going to be a world where everybody's just going to respect them because you slapped us on the wrist for conversations that haven't been had about their own history that we better know, but you never talk about? You think that conversation ain't going to be awkward? You think it ain't going to end with fisticuffs sometimes? Or even worse in certain situations? I mean, That's what I'm talking about. When you use bad energy to reflect upon a people, and it is bad energy. It is bad energy. When you do that, you leave so much open. And this is what we fight against just the same. Every time I open my mouth, I assume that my grandchild could be from the race of whom it is I'm talking about. And in the event they are, I need to know how to raise that child in love and respect to, from within themselves, love themselves as a human being first, then whatever their race is going to be after that, then let it trickle down to everything else. But they got to love themselves first. And how can they do that? How can they do that if there's lies being told about who they are, who the people are around them, and who's important around them? Man, he's Jewish. Okay, we need to be respecting him different. It's a black girl. Okay, she can shake her butt like Carly Red. It's cool. That's to be respected. Is it a different, that type of person? Okay, we respect him differently. Is it black dude? Okay, fine. He's probably going to spin the block, shoot everybody. Like these certain truths versus tropes are in place. And for me, it's just like, if I'm going to raise a young black boy, I need to be able to tell him who Jewish people are. If I'm going to raise a young Jewish boy, I need to be able to tell him who black people are. And with this trope culture where we can't talk about this, but we can assume that this isn't true, but we shouldn't listen to our mamas anymore, we should listen to you, all this nonsense, you had better be ready to have them conversations our parents are willing to have. They were answering questions for us, whether they answer them properly or not. If you're not willing to answer those questions, how are you going to gain the trust we had with them? Trust comes from conversations being had, not you slapping my wrist from afar. And you far away, you want to come over here and reprimand me for not knowing the truth. You better tell the truth. Tell us before you want, you know what I'm saying? Tell it. Don't tell me what the truth is and have a conversation about what it is. And that's what y'all afraid to do. And anybody that's willing to have them conversations, you want to silence them, tell us that they've said something disrespectful. No. They just brought to you what it is you refuse to have a conversation about. And it's like you sitting down at the stand. They go to cross-examine you, and you sit up there talking about you offended. Nah, but you got to answer questions. You understand. And so that's what this is. Let this be the last time a black person is reprimanded for something that they know damn well they refuse to tell us. Let this be the last time. I don't know who killed Jesus. I know I didn't kill him. You understand what I'm saying? I know I didn't do it. And that's all I can say for any situation such as that. So if y'all really want to solve Jesus Christ's murder, you know what I'm saying, we can go down that route. But as far as I could tell, the history is stuck in the books and it's stuck in our hearts. So if anybody wants to take what's out of our hearts, or what's out of them books, y'all better be ready to have conversations that have not been had. Y'all better be glad I'm not Jamie Foxx. Y'all better be glad I'm not in that world. Because they do this to me, and I'm going to use the same voice with a much louder speaker. That's how that goes. I ain't the guy you're going, oh my God, you're going to take $1 billion from him. Yeah, but my voice still works. Like, my voice still works. So this is why I worry about these people's health. Kanye, Kyrie, Jamie Foxx. I worry about their health because it's like their voice still works. If they want to speak on what it is that they have to say, they can still do that, if not for the concerns of the power being placed upon them to keep their mouths shut, which is what keep tropes in place, because people don't allow people to talk. And they want to compare it to using the N-word. Oh, no, but y'all understand the N-word. Nobody's confused about the N-word. Y'all even redefined it for us. ER means the bad stuff. A means the good stuff, even though I know, and you should know, that there is no difference. I want to tell all of my followers here, there's absolutely no difference between the word nigger and nigga. None. Do not let this era lie to you. It's the same thing. It's the same disrespect. Very same. My name is BDF 44. That ain't no trough. And I'm out.